This is a very quick summary of the information that people may need to know about issues to do with ADHD assessments and medication in particular. The kind of key issue is that medication is prescribed by medics, and for children that would generally be a child psychiatrist. It's possible it could be other medics, but generally it will be a psychiatrist. You would access those either through CAMS or privately, and generally then the prescription is written out actually by a GP. GPs don't generally provide ADHD medication prescriptions in the first instance, so you can't generally just go to your GP for ADHD medication. The child would need to be seen by a prescribing clinician. There is a general shortage of child psychiatrists in the country, and certainly currently in where we are in Brighton, they are significantly oversubscribed. People are generally having to go to London. There are also remote assessment options. In terms of the role of psychology assessments, so as a clinical psychologist, I assess for and diagnose autism and ADHD and other neurodevelopmental disorders. We do so according to all the standard diagnostic criteria, but we are diagnosing neurodevelopmental disorders primarily for the purposes of then making a broad set of recommendations across education, mental health provision and so on. We're not directly involved in the prescription process. We're not, as psychologists, we're not medics. What then often needs to happen is that you will take the report to CAMS or to a private prescriber who would do the medical consultation kind of over and above the psychological part. In terms of the diagnostic question, that's the same whether it's done by a psychologist or a psychiatrist. It's really just that there are other considerations, obviously, that in terms of then whether medication is appropriate. That's a thing that's for the medics, and that's what you would want the consultation with them for, to look at whether it's appropriate, the pros and cons, the side effects, and so on. There are a huge range of problems that people then run into when they are talking to CAMS in particular, and this was the subject of the webinar that we did yesterday on the 23rd of June. And if you want to understand those issues, you're probably best off watching the recording of that webinar, which I've just posted on YouTube, and it will talk you through all of the underlying problems that exist in terms of why is it that children, for example, that have really very evident neurodevelopmental issues, ADHD in particular, why is this not being routinely recognised in CAMS? That's a much more complicated question, and it's one that you, like I say, you probably need to watch the other video about.